You wake not to sunlight, but to the clatter of iron against stone. A dull ache spreads across your back, pressed too long against something cold, rough and unyielding. The air is heavy with dampness. When you try to sit up, sharp metal bites into your wrists, chains. You're shackled, alone, underground perhaps. You don't know where. But you know where you aren't. You're not in the highland fields chasing sheep. Not in the hearth-warmed kitchen watching your mother stir barley into porridge. Not beside your father who carved your name into a yew wood talisman and hung it around your neck the day you turned 8. That charm is gone now, ripped from you, along with your name, your voice, and your place in the world. The last thing you remember clearly is fire. And shouting, hooves, the sound of your neighbor's daughter screaming before it turned into something worse. Men with covered faces and hard eyes descending on your village like scavengers on a battlefield. They did not kill. Killing wastes value. They took. And now, so have they taken you. You don't know the names of the men who tied your wrists or shoved you into a wagon with a dozen other boys. You didn't understand their language, but you recognized their tone. Calm, cold, practiced. The same tone your uncle used when selecting lambs for slaughter. Assessing, calculating. You were selected. You want to believe this is a nightmare, but your body aches too realistically. Your tongue is too dry. The chains are too real. Even the smell, sour, metallic, and close, is too vivid for a dream. You try to cry but stop yourself. The boy beside you is watching. His face is smeared with ash and blood. His eyes are dry, blank. You realize you must start learning fast. The wheels never stop groaning. Day and night blur together in the rattle of wood and iron. You're crammed into a wagon with bodies that used to be children. Now just silent lumps of flesh and fear. The straw beneath you itches and reeks. Your knees knock against the side of the cart. There's no room to stretch, barely room to breathe. No one speaks. Words feel dangerous, fragile, as if they might shatter the thin shell of sanity that still clings to each of you. At first, some cried, wailing for mothers, fathers, siblings. One boy even tried to leap from the cart, only to be yanked back by a guard on horseback. They beat him in front of all of you, not to punish, to instruct. No one cries now. You learn to drink water when it's offered, even if it smells stale. You learn to eat whatever is given, even when it tastes like mold. You learn to hold your urine until the guards bark permission. You learn not to ask questions. One boy, older than you, begins to speak to the guards in broken phrases, clumsy attempts at their language. At first, you think he's brave. Then you realize he's not trying to escape. He's trying to be useful, trying to belong. It works. They stop hitting him. Sometimes he even gets more food, but something in his eyes changes. He stops looking at the rest of you, as if he's already somewhere else. That scares you more than the beatings. You pass through towns, cities, places where people walk freely in the sunlight, dressed in bright fabrics, laughing. Sometimes they glance at the wagon. Most of the time they don't. You are covered, but not hidden. People know what this cart is, what it carries. They've seen it before. You begin to understand something ugly. Your suffering is ordinary. It's not personal, not dramatic, not even worth turning your head for. Your cargo, like grain or clay pots. One guard spits on the road and mutters a word you don't understand, but you know it means product. Some of the boys sleep with their eyes open. Others have stopped blinking entirely. You find yourself watching the sky, not for escape, but for something pure. A bird, a cloud, a god, anything that still belongs to the world you came from. One evening, the cart halts. You're yanked out into the open, forced to stand in a line. The air is warmer here, sweet almost. Insects buzz in olive trees. There's a gate up ahead, big. Carved stone, guards everywhere, people walking in and out, carrying ledgers, fabric bolts, and cages. It's not a prison. It's a marketplace. Not the chaotic shouting of farmers and fishmongers that you remember from home. No, this place is organized, elegant. A place where every detail has been designed with a purpose. Where flesh is weighed not just for strength, but for grace. This is not where they break you. This is where they finish the job. The first thing they take is your dirt. You're scrubbed, violently. A man with sleeves rolled to his elbows throws cold water over your head. then scrapes a stiff bristled brush across your skin until it burns. The bruises are ignored. The blood under your nails is removed, not because it matters to your health, but because it makes you look cheap. Next comes the oil. Scented, slippery, invasive. Your skin shines like polished marble. You smell like flowers that don't grow anywhere near your homeland. Lavender, rose, orange blossom, each designed to mask the scent of fear. Then they cut your hair. Not all of it, just enough to shape you. They trim and part it with practiced precision, like they've done this 100 times. Because they have. You are not the first. You will not be the last. They give you a tunic. White, soft, deceptively simple. It drapes just so, designed to catch the eye. The man fitting it doesn't explain why it matters that it hangs lower on one side, or why your shoulders are to remain slightly exposed. But he doesn't need to. You're not dressing. You're being framed. A canvas, a statue, a product on a pedestal. When you step out into the display hall, the sound shifts. There are no screams, no whip cracks, no begging. Just quiet voices, laughter, the murmur of money. Buyers stroll among the children like gardeners inspecting roses. Some ask questions, some touch. One lifts a boy's chin, then turns to the dealer and comments on symmetry. Another inspects teeth, fingernails, even the arch of a foot. When they reach you, a man circles once, twice. He hums softly, as though contemplating a wine vintage. Then he speaks, slowly, clearly. You don't understand every word, but the tone is unmistakable. Approval, calculation, ownership, waiting to be finalized. They speak about you as if you are not standing there. Good skin, one says, northern bones. Another murmurs, that hair, almost golden in sunlight. A third adds, still young enough to mold, but not too young to train. You've heard this language before. In your village, they spoke this way about livestock, not people. Except now, you're livestock. And this is the market. You are sold that afternoon. You don't hear your price. You don't see the signature, but you feel the shift. The dealer gestures. A man in a dark robe walks forward, nods without looking at you, and hands a scroll to someone behind the table. It's done. You belong to someone now. The house is quiet, too quiet. Your new master doesn't greet you. He doesn't even look at you. The one who does is an older man in an emerald-colored robe, waiting at the gate like a steward expecting a package. He looks you over, not cruelly, but clinically. So this is the one, he murmurs, then louder, follow me. You hesitate, not because you're disobedient, but because the villa before you is impossible. Tall columns etched with myths you've never heard. Floors that shimmer with colored stone arranged in perfect patterns. Pools of water that reflect sunlight like they were made of glass. Every surface gleams. Every plant is in bloom. Every corner smells like something rich and unfamiliar. Crushed herbs, sweet wine, scented oils. It is the most beautiful prison you've ever seen. Your trainer, Alexandros. His name is Alexandros. He speaks your language, enough of it to make you nervous. You may ask questions, he says, but I won't always answer. Some things you'll learn through instruction, others through correction. His voice is calm, even kind, but his eyes are old in a way that has nothing to do with age. He was like you once. You understand that immediately. He doesn't tell you that. He doesn't need to. Your education begins. You are not here to clean floors or carry heavy things. You're here to entertain, elevate, and belong to a very specific world. Your days are mapped with military precision. Morning, language. Not just Latin and Greek, but tone, nuance. The correct way to greet a senator versus a merchant. The difference between being respectful and being servile. Midday, literature and mythology. You memorize lines of poetry not for meaning, but melody. You learn to describe the gods on the frescoes without seeming too clever. Afternoon, music, the lyre, the flute, the sound of control. Evening, movement. How to walk slowly enough to be noticed, but not so slowly as to seem staged. How to sit without wrinkling your tunic. How to keep your eyes lowered but alert. How to listen without appearing to hear. Every gesture, every word, every breath becomes a performance. Maintenance of the body. You thought they were done shaping you. You were wrong. Your diet is monitored with the care of a royal animal, just enough to maintain softness, never enough to grow strong. You are forbidden from running, lifting, climbing. They want you supple, not powerful. Oils are rubbed into your skin twice a day. Your hair is trimmed weekly. When the first whisper of facial hair appears, it is removed immediately. There are physicians who visit, not to heal, but to preserve. You're not growing up. You're being preserved in youth like a rare fruit, waiting to rot at the first sign of age. Psychological conditioning. It is not the tasks that exhaust you. It's what they mean. Your old name is never spoken. Alexandros gives you a new one. A mythological one. One that sounds beautiful in Latin. You try to keep your memories of your mother's songs, your father's tools, the dog that used to follow you through fields. But each day, they fade further. Alexandros doesn't forbid them. He simply tells you, they don't matter here. He says it gently, but it cuts deeper than cruelty. And so you obey. You nod when praised. You smile when corrected. You learn to recognize the smallest flicker of disappointment in a master's face and adjust yourself before it becomes a command. Weeks pass, then months. Time stretches thin in the villa, measured not in days, but in gestures, a nod of approval, a frown of disinterest, the weight of silence in the room after a failed response. You no longer think in hours, you think in moods. His moods. You know the signs now. The way his hand lingers on the edge of a cup when he's contemplative. The way his voice tightens before anger. The difference between when he wants music and when he wants conversation disguised as companionship. You are learning, and that terrifies you. The shifting self. You still tell yourself that you're pretending, that you're simply performing what's expected. But the mirror disagrees. One morning, Alexandros adjusts your tunic and says, "Tilt your chin." No, not like that, as if you're proud but afraid. That's what he likes. You do it, and you realize you didn't have to think about how. You already knew. You didn't learn that gesture, you became it. Ganymedes, that's your new name. Ganymedes, a name from an old myth. A boy taken by a god, made to pour wine forever in the heavens. When Alexandros first called you by it, you flinched. Now you answer without thinking. Sometimes you hear it in your own voice, murmured during sleep. You've stopped dreaming of your mother's voice, stopped reaching for the memory of your dog's bark in your mind. It's easier that way. The other boys. You're not alone here. There's Kaiso, older, quiet, calculating. He applies his perfumes precisely. He knows how the master likes his cushions arranged and which guests prefer a more flirtatious presence. He whispers to you sometimes, not kindly, but usefully. Don't laugh too hard at his jokes. He doesn't like to be mocked. And then there's Elion, younger, fragile, still cries at night when he thinks no one hears. You do, but you pretend not to. Compassion is dangerous here. It creates weakness. Or worse, witnesses. Most of the boys are neither kind nor cruel. They are cautious, perfectly balanced between obedience and self-preservation. Like dancers in a hall of glass. They are not friends. They are rivals. And you are becoming one of them. Moments of disconnection. Sometimes there are cracks. A song will bring a memory. A scent will call up a face you haven't seen in a year. For a second, something inside you stirs. The boy you were before the chains, the oil, the marble. But the moment fades. The villa swallows it. The performance becomes reality. You catch yourself smiling when he smiles, not because you're ordered to, but because some part of you wants to, or has learned to. You take pride in small victories, a compliment, a longer glance, being chosen over the others. You measure your worth in his attention. You fear losing it more than you fear punishment. Your reflection, when you glimpse it in polished bronze, shows a beautiful boy with perfect posture, soft skin, practiced grace. You don't hate that boy, but you don't know who he is. And worst of all, you're starting not to care. The message comes at dusk. Alexandros finds you in the music room, fingers still on the strings of the lyre. He doesn't speak at first, just looks at you for a long time, as if measuring something. Then he has requested you. You don't ask who he is. There is only one answer: the preparation. The rest of the day becomes ritual. Alexandros draws a bath. The oils tonight are different, deeper, muskier. Your skin is scrubbed, your hair arranged in waves designed to catch the lamplight. He selects a tunic of pale linen, so thin it clings to your body with every breath. You're not being dressed, he says, you're being presented. His hands are steady, but his voice is distant, not cold, just resigned. He steps back to inspect you, adjusting the fall of fabric at your collarbone. "Remember," he says, "you exist to make him forget the world." You nod, even though your heart is thundering so loudly you're sure he can hear it. The corridor. The walk to the master's chamber is the longest corridor you've ever crossed. Every torch on the wall throws shadows against the marble, shadows that move like watchers. The air is warm, perfumed, tense. 2 guards stand at the doorway, but they do not look at you. You are not a guest. You are not a threat. You are nothing but expected. The door opens with a soft groan. You step inside. The room and the man. He reclines on a couch draped in crimson silk, scrolls and wine scattered around him. The toga is gone. He wears a simple tunic. Casual, controlled, relaxed. But you know better. Power wears comfort like armor. He doesn't look up when he speaks. "Come here." You do. "Closer." You do. "Turn." You turn. He studies you in silence for a moment that feels like an eternity. Then, good, Alexandros trains them well. He sets down his scroll. The test, he wants words. "Recite something," he says, voice low but direct. Something Greek, something soft. You begin a passage from Sappho, something Alexandros chose weeks ago for its tenderness. You've practiced the rise and fall of every syllable, the quiet ache beneath the beauty. As you speak, he watches you. Not your mouth, not your eyes, all of you. And you realize something terrifying. You want him to be pleased. You finish. He nods. You learn quickly. Then gestures. "Sit." "No, not there. Beside me. I want to feel your warmth while I read." You obey. The hour that follows. What happens is not dramatic, not cruel, not tender. He reads, occasionally aloud, occasionally not. His fingers drift to your hair. He speaks to you as one might speak to a pet, softly, absently. He asks questions about the passage, about the metaphors, about the music of the words. You answer, perfectly, carefully. When he approves, he touches your hand. When he does not, the silence grows cold. By the end of the hour, you are exhausted, not from action, but from attention. You've passed the test, but you've paid something for it. You don't know what yet. Evening after evening, the villa glows with gold and firelight. Guests arrive in robes dyed deep as blood, voices smooth with wine and influence, senators, poets, generals, foreign envoys. They come not only to speak with your master, but to see you. Not just you, of course. There are others, boys like Elion, who sings with eyes lowered, Kaiso, who pours wine with the grace of a priest, and you, who have learned how to smile without smiling. Decor, ornament, entertainment. You are seated by the fountain one evening. Another time you stand at your master's left hand, a silent adornment as he debates the virtues of Stoic philosophy. At times, he gestures at you casually during conversation. Remarkable, isn't he? Alexandros has refined him beautifully. Recite the line from Virgil, boy. You do, effortlessly, because to hesitate is to disappoint is to vanish. The cost of being chosen to be invisible is dangerous, but to be noticed too much is just as perilous. One boy once laughed too freely at a guest's joke. A week later, he was sent away, no reason given. Another cried during a private evening and was removed from the master's circle. He's still in the villa, cleaning floors now. He doesn't speak. You learn balance. Be charming, but not bold. Engaging, but never too intelligent. Beautiful, but never desirous. You are to be enjoyed, never to desire. The game's within the game. The other boys smile at you, compliment you, share secrets. But every kindness comes with calculation. Every word might be a test. Kaiso teaches you which herbs calm the master's digestion. Elion shows you how to soften your voice to avoid harsh consonants. In return, they expect favors. A shift in seating order, a whispered warning about the master's mood. It is a court, and you are a player. But one misstep, and you are no longer a piece. You're discarded. A moment of false peace. One evening, after the guests leave and the villa quiets, you are summoned not for recitation or service, but to sit. Just sit. At your master's feet. He reads. Occasionally, he places a hand on your shoulder. Sometimes he speaks softly of his youth, of battles, of triumphs long past. You listen. Not because you care, but because you're expected to. And yet, a part of you does care. You want to know what he fears, what he regrets, what, if anything, he loves. This is the danger. Not that he owns you, but that part of you wants to belong. It begins with your voice. A note too low in a song you've sung 100 times. A phrase that vibrates in your throat deeper than it used to. Subtle, but unmistakable. Then come the changes you try to hide. A shadow along your jawline in the morning. A sharper angle at your cheekbones. Muscles forming where once there was only softness. You've spent years being trained to preserve, to pause time. And now your body betrays you. The quiet panic. No one says anything, not at first. Alexandros notices, of course. His hands linger longer at your face when he applies your cosmetics. He switches your tunic for one with a higher neckline. He replaces honey with broth in your meals. Just a bit of inflammation, he says when your voice cracks. But he avoids your eyes. The other boys say nothing, but they see. And you see it in them, the anticipation. They are younger, softer, more new. They are waiting for space to open. Your space. Your master still smiles. For now, he still calls on you. He still gestures for you to sit beside him during readings. He still touches your hair, still hums in approval when you recite a line from Ovid just right. But his eyes wander to newer faces, to brighter ones. You notice, and he knows that you notice, but neither of you speak of it. This is the unwritten contract of your role. You must fade gracefully, with gratitude, the return of memory. You begin to dream again, not of the villa, but of your home. The taste of ash bread, the voice of your brother, the cool fog on your bare legs as you chased goats at dawn. For years, those memories were buried, blurred by perfumes and poetry. Now they return without warning, and they hurt. Not because they are painful, but because they are real. And everything around you now begins to feel like paper. The ghosts of the villa. You start seeing them more clearly now. The boys who came before you. Not in flesh, but in routine, in absence. The ones who once stood where you stand. The ones whose names are no longer spoken. One worked in the gardens for a while, another simply vanished. A third was gifted to a visiting senator. No ceremony, no goodbye, just erasure. You understand now, this life was never meant to last. It was meant to shine, then vanish. And yet, you still perform. You still sing. You still smile. You still say, "Yes, master," in perfect modulation. Because the alternative is silence. And you don't yet know how to survive without being seen. It doesn't come as a punishment. There's no outburst, no slap, no shameful dismissal. It comes in a conversation. Alexandros calls you to the side terrace one morning. The light is gentle, the garden blooming, the air soft with spring. He doesn't meet your eyes. The master has made arrangements, he says. You know what's coming before he speaks the words. You are to be released. Manumission. The word feels hollow. Freedom, the thing you once prayed for, now sounds like a sentence. You are told you'll receive a modest inheritance. A few coins, 2 tunics, and a letter of recommendation. Your name, the one they gave you, will remain on the scroll. It is now your official name. You'll be offered a position in another house, not as a pleasure servant, as a tutor perhaps, a secretary, something fitting for a well-trained young man. Trained. That word burns, because that's what you are now, a product that has graduated. No farewell, there is no ceremony, no final summons. The master does not speak to you again. You're handed your items by a steward, your documents are sealed, a carriage is waiting at the gate. You pause. Part of you hopes someone will stop you. Offer a word, a gesture, a single human acknowledgement. No one does. Because you are no longer useful. You've aged out of desire, a relic from a collection now moving on to newer pieces. The world outside, the sun is brighter than you remember. People move freely in the streets. Laughter sounds different out here, uncontrolled, unscripted. You walk among them, carrying a sealed letter and a tunic folded under your arm. But you walk like a slave. Eyes lowered, steps measured, hands still held at the wrong angle. You realize no one told you how to walk as a free man. You stop outside a tavern, smells of meat and smoke. You watch a boy laugh, a real boy with crooked teeth and dirty nails. His laughter is sharp, ugly, real. You envy him in a way that makes your throat ache. Freedom's paradox. You're free, but of what? Of the walls, yes, of the villa. Yes, of his hands, his voice, his expectations. Yes, but you're not free of what he made of you. You still speak softly. You still flinch at sudden movement. You still reach for approval in every stranger's gaze. And worst of all, you still miss the order. The structure, the role, the safety in knowing exactly what you were and what you were meant to do. Now, you are nothing but possibility, and you don't know what to do with it. Years pass. Not many, but enough. You find work in a senator's household. You manage correspondence, prepare scrolls, teach his sons how to recite Cicero with appropriate gravity. You earn coin, sleep on a mattress, eat well. You are respected, admired even. No one touches you without permission. They call you learned, refined, a man of culture. They don't know why, and you don't tell them. 2 lives, 1 body. You carry yourself with poise, speak only when needed, smile just enough. But inside, you live in 2 worlds. In one, you're still that boy, barefoot in the misty fields, chasing goats, laughing in your mother's arms. In the other, you are the object once placed beside a marble fountain, trained to say just the right words, wear just the right smile. And sometimes, when you close your eyes, you don't know which one was real, because both were, and neither belonged to you entirely. The forgotten others. You remember their names. Kaiso, Elion, that boy with the cracked singing voice, the one with eyes too old for his face, the one who never smiled. You don't know what became of them, but you know what becomes of boys like them. Most vanish, some adapt, a few survive. Almost none are remembered. The history books will mention emperors and generals, not the children beneath their feet, not the cost of Rome's perfection. A quiet rebellion. You never speak of the villa, but in small ways you resist. You correct your young students gently, never harshly. You listen more than you speak. When a merchant's boy drops a tablet and flinches, you kneel and say, "It's only wax, not worth fear." And sometimes alone you sing, not in Greek or Latin, but in the tongue of your mother, just a fragment, just enough. No one understands, but you do. The thread remains. You once thought the name they gave you had erased the one your father whispered at your birth, but it didn't. That name, your true name, still lives somewhere under your ribs, thin as a reed, quiet as breath, but unbroken. And in it, you find something that was never for sale, something no master could reach, something time, polish, or silence could not kill. You. The legacy Rome will fall, its marble will crack, its scrolls will fade. But somewhere, maybe now, maybe centuries from now, someone will ask, who were the boys behind the golden doors? And maybe, if we tell it right, someone will answer, they were never just what Rome made of them. They were people, they were stolen, and they survived.